Hello and welcome to JMax Jarmies of Diddle Earth. Today I'm going to show you how to make some wintry themed terrain. Perfect for your frosty fantasy battles in the north of Middle Earth. And as a bonus, I'll also share some cheeky tips that'll help you get some extra mileage out of your 3D files. So Harry from Entmoot has asked me to do a full set of terrain themed around Ravenhill from The Hobbit. And for those of you who don't know, Ravenhill is a spur of the Lonely Mountain located to the west of the main gates. It was once a watch post and a guard settlement during the height of the Dwarven Kingdom under Thror, abandoned after Smaug's attack. It later served as a key location during the Battle of Five Armies. Thorin Oakenshield and his companions retreated there before launching their final fateful charge. However, in Peter Jackson's Hobbit films, Ravenhill is dramatically reimagined as a kind of more windswept, broken ruin perched high above the battlefield. It becomes the stage for the film's climactic duels where Thorin confronts Azog and the tragedy of the Line of Durin unfolds. Bleak and atmospheric, it symbolises both Thorin's isolation and his ultimate redemption. But anyway, enough of that nonsense, let's get on to the terrain, shall we? So after a lot of thinking, a lot of planning, I decided to go with the Raven Peak files from Conquest Creations. I think they're absolutely perfect for this project. Not only do they mirror the Jackson style look from the films brilliantly, from the sweeping walls to the tiny fine details, but just like all Conquest Creations stuff, they're designed to be fully playable within Middle-earth strategy battle game, which is a huge bonus for this build because I know Harry basically only plays Middle-earth, so it doesn't really matter. It doesn't need to be themed work around any other game system, so just absolutely perfect for this. And a full disclaimer, I have not been sent these or told to make this video.
I just think they're neat.
So I also picked up a Bamboo A1 printer. Yes, another disclaimer, I had to pay for it myself. No sponsorships here, my channel is tiny and shite, despite all my efforts to get free stuff from companies. You gave that Bellin at 3D Games at free printer. Where's mine at? However, it is completely worth the money in my opinion. It's just plug in and play, perfect for someone that's a bit special like me. You know, I've had it for a few months now and it's already made its money back, farting out terrain like a clinically obese Glaswegian after a Vindaloo. But anyway, on to the first big JMac 3D printing tip. This might sound massively obvious, but if you want to use the same file more than once on your board, try scaling it up or down to create new dimensions and variety. In this clip you'll see I've scaled this piece up by 20%. See how easy that is, and it's a completely new piece. And in here I've scaled this one down by 20%, and it's, you know, a completely new piece. Next tip, again, pretty obvious, but you can mirror stuff in the X and Y axis. So you can see that I've got 4 pieces here, flip one in the X only, flip one in the Y only, and then flip X and Y. And just like that, you've got one file looking like 4 different pieces. And when you combine the scaling with the mirroring, you get tons of different variations. You may think it's obvious or that people would spot the repeats, but once it's painted, flocked, and you're deep in a game, you know, the symmetry barely even gets noticed. And you know, if anyone does call you out on it, just say it's a tactical illusion. Or just tell them to mind their own business, the cheeky cunts. Whatever floats your boat. So we just slice up these files and we send them over to the print, and then the printer will just fart them out in a couple of hours. To do the whole board, it probably took me about a week, to be honest. I'm still very new to this, so probably my settings were maybe nowhere near efficient, but it's done the job, and I'm happy to just leave the printer farting away in the attic while I get on with other projects. I was seriously thinking about getting another one of these bad boys, but since I'm moving to a smaller flat, I'm not sure I'm going to have space for it. Sadly moving away from my big house. But anyway, on to the actual terrain painting. So I've been kind of watching the Conquest Creations battle reports and looking at the photos on Instagram to try and figure out how exactly they got that look. because it's kind of exactly what I want to achieve, because I think it looks great. You know, I could have just asked them, but I'm a bit of a weirdo and I like to figure out things for myself to see if I can find ways to make it like look the same but be really fast. Because I'm a lazy bastard. Actually, emailing and asking would probably be the lazy option, wouldn't it? So after a good long look and some planning, I've broken it down to clear steps. I reckon this is the best way to approach terrain building, because if you do stuff in the right order, you can save yourself so much time. So here is my process. First up, we start with rocks and stone buildings. Next up, we do the ground texture. That'll be like the mud and then dry brushing and such forth and whatnot. Then we're on to toughs, and then finally the snow to bring it all together and make it nice and wintry. So let's dive in, shall we? Let's dive into the rocks and the stone buildings. This is where the whole piece really starts to take shape. As this is the majority of the miniature, so getting the textures and the colours right here will set you up perfectly for everything that comes after. Plus, it's the foundation that gives your terrain that solid, authentic feel. So, I'm giving the whole thing all over spray of Mechanicus Standard Grey. But any, you know, dark spray will do, from Colourforge or Arm Painter, blah blah blah, etc, etc. Apologies for the footage here. I wasn't actually going to film this video, but then I had an extra day or two when I'd finished all the terrain, so I thought I'd just do a cheeky little extra piece. So I've done this all kind of very rushed, and the footage is a bit wank, but it's what I've got, so apologies. Next up, it's just a quick wash. I mix up some black paint and plain tap water. No fancy soap or flow mediums or, you know, all that bollocks. Just basic black paint and basic water. The finish is good enough and it saves time and money on expensive supplies, so that's all you need. Then I just slap that all over the piece until it's soaking wet, and then leave it to dry. You can use a hairdryer if you're in a rush, but I prefer to let it dry naturally because the blower can splatter the wash and make loads of weird spots if you're not too careful. Then comes the easy bit, dry brushing progressively lighter greys, finishing off with, you know, this just brings out all the fine details, blah blah blah. How many times have you heard me or other content creators talking about what fucking dry brushing does? If you don't know by now, really, what's the fucking point? Then we go for a really light white dry brush for the peak highlights, and then that's all the stone and all the rocks done. The piece is at one big uniform looking thing, but we're going to break that up in a little second when we go over to Past John. That's how you go back into the past, guys, just so you know.
Now we have AK Dark Earth. Absolutely fantastic stuff. I am loving this, and it's like, again, a third of the price of the Games Workshop stuff, so why would you not get this? And it leaves a really nice effect. You can see on the finished bits that that's what it will look like. So I'm going to show you how to apply it. One thing to make sure is when you've got a piece like this with like it's in two parts, so there's like a crack, make sure and cover all that with the texture paste, and then it'll just look like one big piece. Let's get cracking. What kind of transition have we done? We've not done a foot transition, have we? Oh yeah, fucker! There you go. Transition. Oh, make sure to use an old brush.
Oh, and just another tip here, you can see all those layer lines popping out after the dry brush stage. These are the bits that we want to cover up first with the texture paint, because they're what really give away the fact that it's a 3D print. And after you've taken care of those, everything else is just about what you feel is necessary to finish the look that you're after. Then more fantastic dry brushing. Yummy. This time I am using. Just make sure that the earth layer is fully dry before you start dry brushing. This time we're using the same grey from earlier, but we're mixing in a bone colour. This mix gets dry brush across the dried earth part. Apologies, the footage here is absolutely crap thanks to the lighting. You know, I'm now doing my best impression of a cave troll with a headlamp. Total nightmare to film, but you know, it's dry brushing again. We know what we're fucking doing, don't we, guys? I'm not being super careful with it. The grey bone blend, you know, you don't need to be super careful, and you can see I am not. The grey bone blend ties in well enough with the previous tones, so it looks cohesive once it's on. Next up, my favourite spot, my favourite bit, tufting. Tufts is where everything comes to life, and this is where I'm going a bit off key, off topic, off brand. I'm not copying the Conquest examples, as he's used some greens and he's got a more kind of just turning winter or just leaving winter into the spring kind of look with the colours, with the flowers and the greens and less snow, whereas I'm going full winter mode here. So I've got 4 different colours that look dead. You know, I want them to look like they've been hit by winter frost, cold and withered, to really sell the kind of frozen atmosphere. But again, back to past John. He'll explain everything on how to put tufts down. I forgot how to go back to the past.
Right, with that bad boy done, we're on to the old tufting. I absolutely love a bit of tufting. It's probably my favourite bit. When I'm doing big bits of terrain, I try to go with the rule of 3s. It's a rule that I've just made up right now. Basically, I go like 3 big ones on each piece, and then 3 times as many, so maybe like 9 of these kind of bigger, 4mm tufts, and then 9 times as many. No, that's far too many. Yeah, that's far too many. That doesn't work. It's not rule of 3s, it's bollocks. Okay, I'm going to go 3 with these, and then maybe 6 of these, and then maybe 12 of these. Rule of 2, 2 times. Yeah, that's it. You wouldn't believe I've got a physics degree, would you? I can't even do fucking basic maths. Right, here we go. On with the tufting. Foot transition. The tuftage is done. Now on to the final step.
Now, onto the snow. I've gone with AK Snow with this build. I will say, I do think the GW stuff gives off a slightly better finish and it spreads easier, but you basically need
small loan of $1 million
to use this across a full board. So, AK it is. I'm using a flat-edged implement,
if you'll pardon the pun,
to slap the snow onto the model and then scrape it across. I think this gives a more natural look, like the snow's been lying there, starting to freeze in the super cold over the last few days. Oh, pro tip: don't forget to scrape down the sides of the walls so it gets like it's sitting on the tops of door frames, window frames, little ledges, all the places where snow would naturally gather. If you leave the walls looking clean, I don't know what I'm doing this for, it will break the illusion, that's why I'm doing it, illusion, and everything else will look like it just won't look right. So do it. Do the sides. And with that all dried out, we're done. Here's the finished load of terrain laid out in my house, and here it is in action on Battle Camper's stream. I can only apologise, I completely forgot to film the final shots properly. I meant to do it when I was down in Lincoln, but yeah, hey ho. We're just going to have to use Battle Camper's fantastic stream that had absolutely no technical difficulties and has not been relegated to Patreon only because it was so shit. So yeah, that's the build. Massive thank you for watching, especially if you made it this far through my rambling, dodgy lighting and questionable camera angles. If you enjoy the video, do give it a like. You know, it really does help more than you can imagine. It keeps me slicing through these builds one layer at a time.
If you'll pardon the pun. Oh.
There's no pun there.
If you're new here, hit subscribe and maybe even ring the bell if you want to see more terrain builds or more Middle-earth nonsense and general hobby shite. And a huge big thank you to my lovely Patreon shaggers. There's quite a few of you now. It's absolutely lovely. You legends, you know, are the reason I can keep doing this without selling my kidneys for filament. Your support means as always, leave a comment for tips, questions, and if you want to just call me a twat, that's fine. I read them all. Yeah.
Thanks for watching, everyone. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and remember to give my bell a good old ring. Somebody just walked past me. That was embarrassing.
My ingenious Wi-Fi problem solver. Oh yes. Sometimes my genius knows no bounds. Just call me fucking MacGyver.
I'm not being super careful with it. The grey bone blend, you know, you don't need to be super careful, and you can see I am not. The grey bone blends tie. Oh, for fuck's sake! And if you want to join them, of course the Patreon link is down below. You can toss me a couple of quid. I know everyone's fucked at the moment, especially. Well, most people, unless you're a millionaire or a billionaire and you're doing fantastic with all these tax cuts, you're probably fucked. But if you could throw a couple of quid my way to help these, you know, help my paints flow and my printering and keeping my alcohol levels dangerously high, you'll get access to extra bits behind the scenes rambling like I am now, plus the Discord. Where we all chat, shite, and you know, nonsense. It's great wee Discord. Oh, my second channel of tournament vlogs. We now have 2 vlogs. I'm trying to alternate videos, so this channel, that channel, this channel, that channel. If you're not into vlogs or long form content, don't bother. You'll not watch any of it. But yeah, if you are, if you miss the vlogs and all that stuff. Link will be at the end. See you in the next one, I suppose. 20 minutes to edit. It's not as bad as the last one, 30 seconds.